I still don't understand the Mitt Romneys of the world, the David Frenches of the world, the late John McCain's of the world. I'm going to give a little credit to our senator. I think Lindsey was Johnny-come-lately, but I think Lindsey is beginning to realize that I was on the wrong team. I mean, the American public have a very different tact and strategy and understanding of Washington today than the political class believed they did. The political class, Mitt Romney included, believed that, I mean, he called us suckers. I mean, he basically said Trump's playing the American public for suckers. I mean, how insulting is that if you're someone who aspires to be an elected official needing the public to vote for you when you say the public who's voting for this guy are suckers? He's tone deaf. He doesn't realize the frustration that the American public had and have with Washington, D.C. And he was willing to go rally the elites. He was willing to go circle the wagon because he's known and he's relevant and he's famous and he's popular and he's Mitt Romney and he was the nominee of the Republican Party, and somebody's got to be our savior because we've got this cancer who's trying to infect the grand old party. And we can't let that happen because if that happens, nobody like me will ever get elected again. You see, Romney had no interest in the grand old party. Mitt Romney is interested in Mitt Romney. The only difference in Mitt Romney's ego and Donald Trump's ego is Trump doesn't try to hide it. Mitt Romney is every bit as egotistical and narcissistic as Donald Trump ever imagined to be. He's just not a real estate developer from New York who isn't ashamed of it. Romney's a hypocrite. Romney's a fraud. They're all frauds. Just find the frauds you like. For Romney to insinuate that Trump is something he's not, well, he is. He's president. I mean, that's one thing Trump is that Romney is not.
True.
He's American president. And Romney and his father both have had lifelong ambitions. I mean, George Romney spent every waking moment of his life trying to figure out a way to become president. Mitt Romney has served his father well in that capacity by spending every waking moment in his life. And I get real aggravated with Mitt Romney. Once again, I've gone on the record. The little bit of time I've spent with him, I found it to be genuine and authentic. I like the guy. But the strategy he employs is not helpful to those of us who believe Washington needs change. What Romney is basically saying is there's nothing wrong with Washington. We just need a little dusting up. We just need a little cleaning around the edges. We just need a little reminding of who we are and how virtuous our government is and the mantle of the presidency. When you begin to talk about the mantle of the presidency, I turn you off. I just don't have much interest in that, nor tolerance and patience for that. And Mitt Romney's doing the establishment's bidding. That's all he's doing. He's trying his dead level best to be relevant. And once again, I guess he sees himself as John McCain did. You know, his job is to cap off his career by hating Donald Trump. I mean, in essence, that's kind of what he's doing. But in fairness, and it's kind of sad for Mitt Romney, it's the only role available. There is no other job out there for Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney's not the kind of guy who's going to be a freshman senator and serve on a committee and behave and do things the traditional and conventional way. Mitt Romney has a burning desire to be relevant. And he finds in Donald Trump a guy who did what he couldn't do and did it in a way that Mitt Romney never could have done it. You see, that's the problem with Romney. He hates Trump. Not because he hates Trump, because Trump made a lot of money in real estate and because Romney's made a lot of money, not in real estate, but Romney's made a lot of money doing some other fairly creative things in the private sector. Romney's angry with Trump because Romney felt entitled to be president because he'd done everything the book said you had to do. He put every check in the box the elite said you needed to put in the box, and the establishment said you needed to put in the box. He kissed the ring of the New York Times. He sucked up to the Washington Post. He tried to get along with some Democrats. He spoke at the National Press Club. He's done everything there was to do, and it didn't work out. And here comes a guy who kicks the door in, who throws a hand grenade under the toilet stall, and ends up with the job that Mitt Romney has wanted all of his life. And Romney can't get past that. And it's pretty obvious to me. Once again, Romney's talking about being critical of Trump's policies. Go back and read some of the priorities of Romney's campaign as president. Two in particular. Romney was a very strong advocate for securing the southern border. Now, he never said build a wall, but he said, as one of our priorities, we have to restore lawfulness and order back to the southern border. It's ridiculous that we've allowed the state of affairs to become what they have become in not securing the southern border. And what is another thing that Romney said over and over and over again? China cheats. China cheats. And why the world and the World Trade Organizations have legitimized and mainstreamed the Chinese economy is beyond me. And I kind of trusted Romney on that because I felt he had a pretty good understanding about the global economy and how they interconnect one with another. What has Trump said? China cheats. We got to make better deals with China. In fact, Trump did something that Romney would never have the guts or gumption to do. He implemented tariffs. He's playing a long strategy. It's a fairly risky strategy, without question. And it creates some problems in the short term in the economy. But Trump is dealing with China in a very aggressive fashion, which is exactly what Romney told us he would do if he were elected American president. Romney has a problem with a guy who doesn't behave as Romney thinks American president should behave, and that's what the problem a lot of people have with Trump. I don't. Because I've never believed, I'm texting with a friend of mine, and he says, well, Trump just doesn't behave like an American president. I said, who says how an American president has to behave? Who sets that standard? Who gets the right to say an American president has to behave this way? You know, Obama was cerebral. He was a thinker. I mean, he was always in deep thought. I mean, when you got the intellectual horsepower Barack Obama has, he was studious. He was a political student. He was an observer of personalities and persons. I mean, where did that get us? Woefully lacking in leadership. And then we got a guy now who does things a lot different than the way people like Romney believe they should be done. But Romney's tone deaf to the voter. The voter, by and large, has no problem with the way Trump does the job as long as he does the job. I understand, Rev, that the reason Trump's approvals are 41 or 2 and not 51 or 2 is his demeanor, is his personality, is the way he conducts himself in the White House. But to those who say Trump doesn't behave as an American president, why do you get to define? Why does Mitt Romney get to tell the American public how an American president needs to behave when all he's ever wanted to be is American president and has never gotten there? To me, that's the guy with the least credibility of anybody in the world. A guy who has spent all of his adult life trying to become the American president, lecturing to the American public what a president needs to act like and behave as. He has no credibility whatsoever with me. I want Mitt Romney to be a good senator. I want Mitt Romney to be very influential in the debate on Medicare, Medicaid, debt restructuring. How do we get the federal debt under control? Because I think Mitt Romney is very capable, incredibly capable, far more capable than Donald Trump in regards to that. But what Mitt Romney needs to understand is the American public made a decision. And it's not for you to be a part of overturning the will of the American people. The American people said, look, we know this guy's an ass, but we're still going to vote for him. And that's what I don't understand, Rip. How many people out there believe, and this is the great disconnect, and this is where the joke's on the smart people. I mean, the smart people believe that you and I aren't offended by anything Donald Trump does, that you and I aren't bothered by things Trump does. Trump bothers me every day. I find some of the things Trump tweets and says and his behavior, I find it to be, wow, dude, stop with that. But I'll take Donald Trump one day over Mitt Romney 100 days. Because I find Mitt Romney's behavior even more disgusting because he's acting like everything's fine. Let's just tweak Washington a little bit. Let's just kind of massage it a little bit. Let's clip around the edges a little bit, and everything will be just fine. Why? Because we're the smart people. We're the elites. We're the establishment. We figure things out if you just leave us alone. And we don't buy that. We stopped believing that the day we elected Donald Trump. We know Trump's a little crazy. We know Trump is different. We know Trump can be reckless. We know Trump can be dangerous, but we know Trump ain't like the rest of them. And we were willing to roll the dice 2 years ago to vote for somebody not simply because of, but the major reason he wasn't like Mitt Romney. And Romney will never, ever get over that because he believes that he rehearsed long enough, that he was entitled enough, that he had done all it took to put a check in that last box, and he never got to do it. And a guy who spent very little of his life preparing to be president, very little time in his life developing a strategy or an agenda, wakes up one day as an American president, and Mitt Romney and John McCain will never. John McCain died not being able to digest that. Mitt Romney will die not being able to digest why the American people did what we did. You know why? Because he doesn't spend enough time trying to understand the American people. He spends too much time lecturing to the American people about what Washington should and shouldn't do. Listen to the people if you're a politician. You'll win far more than you lose.